Now here is the risk that Browns had to take with I love you, Cleveland, and I love you, Ohio, and a very pleasant welcome to this week's version of Bonus Time with Drennan here on the Big Play Sports Network. Hi, I'm Bruce Drennan along with Ryan Smith. Great to have you aboard. Jimmy Hanlon will be joining us to recap the British Open and the end of the four majors for this 2025 campaign. So much to talk about. Browns opening camp, we'll cover that, but I do want to start with the Indians before we do so. Ryan, how you doing?
I can't complain, Bruce. It's been a pretty good day so far. Happy to be here in studio with you on a beautiful Wednesday. Let's get into bonus time.
And with the Cleveland 6-3 victory last night against Baltimore, the Guards now have reached the 100 games played mark. They have fought their way back to 500 at 50-50. They accomplished this by winning 10 of the last 12 games. What a season this really has been. I mean, they recently lost 10 in a row from June 26th to July the 6th. Guardians have the easiest schedule of any of the wild card contenders with 2 more games versus Baltimore. The Guards then travel to Kansas City for a 3-game weekend series, and then 3 versus Colorado to close out the month of July. Most importantly, the trade deadline. We'll get to that in a minute. August starts with 3 games versus Minnesota, then 3 at New York versus the Mets, 3 with the Chicago White Sox, 3 with Miami, 3 with Atlanta, 3 with Arizona, 3 with Texas, 3 with Tampa Bay, and 3 with Seattle to close out the month. September begins with a 3-game series at Boston and 4 at Tampa Bay. Then 4 at home versus Kansas City, 3 versus the White Sox, 3 at Detroit, 4 at Minnesota, 3 versus Detroit, closing out the regular season with 3 at home versus Texas. Now, the reason I went through this and mentioning the rest of the schedule is to prove a point. 7 of these teams are below 500 as they stand today. However, 31 of the remaining 62 games are against teams who are above 500 as of today. The remaining schedule includes games versus 7 teams that are wild card contenders, including the New York Mets in the National League. And let's not forget that Cleveland has 6 games remaining in September with the front-running Detroit Tigers in our own division. The point is, let's not get carried away. The road to the playoffs is still going to be a high mountain to climb. But, as I have said before, it can be done. But the team will have to keep hitting. In the month of June, Cleveland scored 72 runs. In their last 12 games, the Guards have scored 75 runs. That's a 6.25 per game average. Now, during the 10-game losing streak, the team scored only 15 runs. That's barely 1 run per game. And the team was not scoring over 4 runs for well over a month. But since the All-Star break, the Guardians are tied for 5th in the major leagues with runs scored, and that's at 18. But don't put too much stock on that. You know who leads? The Chicago White Sox with 27. Unbelievable. The question is, can this lineup keep producing runs like they have recently? I'm not convinced. Nobody in this lineup is hitting 300, including all-star Stephen Kwan and superstar Jose Ramirez. Ramirez is at 295 and Kwan is at 285. The next highest average is Angel Martinez, who has risen to 254. Wow. Kyle Manzardo is hot, but he's still only hitting 220. Santana, 228. Schneemann, 214. Arias, 231. Nolan Jones, 225. And then there's all the guys below 200. I emphasize all the guys. That includes Bo Naylor at 170, David Fry, 167, Austin Hedges, 121, John Kenzie Noel at 140, and Jonathan Rodriguez at 155. That brings me to the trade deadline. Now, as I said before here on our show, I think the team will stand pat, and I'm in favor of that. They won't make any major deals. They may make a minor deal, but not a significant deal. No top prospects for a big bat. And I don't necessarily see us selling players like Carlos Santana or Lane Thomas. What could you get in return? Thomas is hurt. And Santana, at his age, not exactly in demand. I told you that I wouldn't trade Clase unless the team is given a Godfather offer they can't refuse. Clase is signed through next season with club options for 27 and 28. He's one of the best closers in the major leagues, and I can easily see the Guards coming back and winning the division next year, with all the kids getting a taste of the bigs in the month of September, the upcoming month of September. Not until. That's because the front office doesn't want the clock to start ticking on their free agent status. Mid-level market teams like ours are very conscientious about this, not just the Guardians. It's because they want to hold on to these young stars, these future stars, as long as possible. It's common sense. Even though we all want to see Delauder and Kaifas and Brito and all the rest of them. Bazana. The pitching staff was dealt a severe blow with the alleged gambling scandal concerning Luis Ortiz. That being said, the starting rotation of Tanner Bybee, Gavin Williams, Slade Ciccone, and hopefully a healthy Shane Bieber could potentially be great next year. Bieber started last night at High A Lake County. He allowed 1 run, 2 hits, 4 strikeouts, and 43 pitches. He's on track in his rehab to return to the major league rotation in the coming month of August. Keep your fingers crossed. The bullpen with Clase, Smith, Gaddis, and company will still be one of the best in the major leagues. So I think they're going to stand pat, Ryan.
I think they're going to stand pat too, Bruce. You mentioned it's a big mountain to climb to get to that playoff wild card spot. It is, but at least they're climbing, Bruce. You know, these are the months, the dog days of summer, where after that 10-game losing streak, it could have looked like the second half after the All-Star break was going to be a funeral. However, they're breathing a little bit of life, heads above water, Bruce. Anything's possible, but I agree with you. I just like them to stand pat because I agree. We know how fluid the AL Central is next year. They could come back and win this thing.
All right, now before we talk about the Browns opening up camp, when we come back, I'm going to take a look at the entire Major League Baseball picture because now we are starting the stretch drive, and we're just getting started with Bonus Time with Drennan on Big Play.
The Big Play Sports Network is brought to you by Pure AV, luxury home automation. Experience your dream smart home by visiting pureavcorp.com.
Here on the show, we concentrate so much on the Guardians, as we should, but I don't want to ignore the rest of the major leagues now that we are entering the stretch drive as we approach the month of August. Let me give you my opinions on the stretch drive here until the end of the regular season. Detroit, for the first time this year, is showing some vulnerability. They've lost 8 of their last 10 and have come down to earth a bit. I predict they will not win the American League pennant. Now, the New York Yankees would be my choice, but their pitching is so iffy right now because of injuries. Toronto has come on like gangbusters. Houston is Houston, and they've obviously taken command of the West despite injuries to their pitching staff. Of course, somebody can get hot at the right time and run that streak into the postseason and beyond to the World Series, the playoffs, and then the World Series, like Texas did a couple of years ago, like the Cleveland Indians did in 1997. like the New York Mets did in 1969, like the St. Louis Cardinals did in 1964. The National League, I think, is even more intriguing. Philadelphia and the Mets are neck and neck in the East, and either one, in my opinion, could win the flag. The LA Dodgers are poised once again to win a world title. They are built for October. They'll be extremely difficult to beat in the playoffs or the World Series if they get there again. And then there's the Cubs. What a story. A lineup that one could argue is the most lethal in Major League Baseball. Former Guardians left-hander Matthew Boyd leads their rotation. Can they do it? Well, let's wait a minute. The Milwaukee Brewers have got something to say about that. And they have come from way back and tied the Cubs as we speak for the National League Central lead. And how interesting if Milwaukee prevails over former manager Craig Counsell, who now leads the Cubs. How about the MVP awards? Aaron Judge is the obvious choice here in the American League. He's hitting an amazing .346, 36 homers, 82 RBIs. He's got 24 doubles. The biggest challenger in the American League to Judge is Cal Raleigh of Seattle. The switch-hitting home run derby champion catcher has hit only .256, though. He's got 39 home runs and 84 RBIs, but what's going to work against him is that batting average, which is almost 100 percentage points below Judge. Now, the only other possible contender is Tarik Skubal of the Detroit Tigers. He's 10-3 with a 2.19 ERA. It's rare when a pitcher wins the MVP, but it has happened. Now, he has 164 strikeouts and 127 2/3 innings pitched. However, he's not necessarily a shoo-in to win the Cy Young in the American League. There's a guy by the name of Garrett Crochet of Boston who is 11-4, has the identical ERA of 2.19 to Skubal. He has 165 strikeouts in 135 1/3 innings pitched. What will hurt Crochet's chances for the Cy Young against Skubal is that if Boston fails to qualify for the postseason. I've always disagreed with that criteria, but it is what it is in this modern era. The National League MVP award will most assuredly go to Shohei Ohtani of the LA Dodgers for the second year in a row. 36 home runs, 7 triples, posting, and let alone his pitching. In 6 games, he's posting a 1.50 ERA and allowing the opposition a mere .209 batting average. This incredibly unique athlete is definitely the international face of Major League Baseball. The National League Cy Young should go to Zach Wheeler of Philadelphia. He's 9-3 with a 2.39 ERA, and he struck out 164 batters in 128 innings pitched. Although National League All-Star starting pitcher Paul Skeens of Pittsburgh should get consideration, as well as Robbie Ray of San Francisco. But Skeens has a below .500 record of 5-8, and he pitches for a lousy team. Any input, Ryan?
Oh, man, I want to see Paul Skeens win the MVP award. You mentioned it. You don't really agree with the team's success as the overall picture for the pitcher, and that's exactly Paul Skeens' case. You look at Tarik Skubal. Well, they have pretty identical numbers to Paul Skeens, except you mentioned the records, and that's just unfortunate because Tarik Skubal plays for a 60-win baseball team, and Paul Skeens is on one of the worst franchises in MLB history in the Pittsburgh Pirates, but it's fine because Paul Skeens will be a Yankee one day and win 5 Cy Young, so I don't feel bad there, Bruce.
You know, I want to cover the Browns opening camp in the next segment, and I want to admit a mistake that I have made calling them the most dysfunctional franchise in recent sports history, going back several decades. I'm wrong about that. I discovered a team who's worse. The Pittsburgh Pirates. Think about it. Boy, those fans have got to just love the fact they've got the Steelers. We'll talk about the Browns opening up camp next on Bonus Time with Drennan. Big Play.
The Big Play Sports Network is brought to you by Fairway Ford, the largest inventory of new Ford trucks, the lowest pricing, and same hometown level of service. Visit fairwayfordohio.com today.
Well, can you believe it? Football season is upon us. That's because the NFL teams are opening up their camps, including our Cleveland Browns, and trying to improve. How can they not after a 3-14 record a year ago? It's going to be hard not to improve. But the schedule's so brutal. Cincinnati, Baltimore, Green Bay, Detroit, Minnesota, Pittsburgh, Miami, New England. That's just before the bye, Ryan.
Bruce, please don't ever say it can't go lower or it's very hard to go lower, because we know damn well it is easy, in fact, in Cleveland to go worse than 3
They'll
or 14.
win more than 3. They'll win more.
I do too. I think the
They'll
over-under
win
in
more
Vegas
than
actually
3.
just got bumped up to 5.5, but I can't believe football's already back. Training camp, the vets reported yesterday, first real practice is today for our Cleveland Browns. We wish it was in a little bit of scenario, everybody being there, but we have one of just 2 rookies that are not signed to their deals. Of course, that's Quinshon Judkins dealing with legal matters, Bruce.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. I hope they straighten it out. And, you know, there's two sides to a story. We haven't heard everything about this woman yet. I'm pleading ignorance, but all we've heard was the preliminary reports. She didn't report the incident immediately. So until further details come out, I don't want to rush to judgment on Judkins. But certainly drafting him and Sampson from Tennessee, we knew the writing was on the wall that Chubb was going to be moving on. I think the running, and with Ford, you've got a pretty good running back room. And by the way, did you see, Ryan, they're actually giving reps. They're intending to give reps at receiver for Sampson out of Tennessee?
I didn't hear that, Bruce, but it really doesn't surprise me. I mean, he's an electric player, a pass catcher. He's a littler guy. I say littler guy, but for NFL size, especially running backs, a little bit. And that's why I was so excited for Quinshon Judkins. They were going to be the 1-2 punch, kind of like if you remember a Mark Ingram and an Alvin Kamara, kind of like we had with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. You know, Quinshon was going to be the bruiser, the main back, and then on passing downs, likely Dylan Sampson, the electric. He's West Coast, or run east to west, north to south, you name it, sideline to sideline. He's a fast player, so it doesn't surprise me. And we're seeing that evolution. Devon Achane, 80 receptions just about in Miami at the running back position. So it's kind of a theme.
You know, I'm so disappointed, as I've expressed here on the show, that they passed on Hunter. I hope that doesn't come back to haunt the Browns, no matter how good Mason Graham turns out to be. I mean, he's not going to score touchdowns. We need touchdowns. But I do like some of the picks. Fannin, the tight end, to team up with Njoku, gives us a tremendous 1-2 punch at tight end, because Fannin's very good at picking up yardage after the catch. And I really like the kid Swessinger from UCLA, the linebacker, especially with Koromoa going down for the whole season. This kid could be all over the field. That's the way he played in college, Ryan.
Yeah, you know, it was a little surprising pick, not because of the talent, but the fact that he was a former walk-on, 1 year of tape on him, but clearly the Browns loved what they saw. He'll immediately slot in, I assume, that will spot for the linebackers alongside Jordan Hicks and maybe Mohamed Diabate, and that's a thin room. Devin Bush has some legal matters going on with him. And outside of that, I mean, you lost a couple guys in free agency, and obviously you're going to be without Jock, but Bruce, this rookie class has a chance to make an immediate impact, as they should, which makes the Quinshon news so disappointing.
Yeah, and I haven't even talked about the quarterbacks, because they're in, obviously, what are they going to do? I think what inevitably could occur is they keep all 4 and they see how preseason goes with the other teams, because they might be able to get a nice piece in return if a and inevitably a quarterback's going to go down on another team, Ryan. So we got 4 guys, and we'd have a little leverage.
5 if you're counting Deshaun Watson, obviously. But Bruce, you're exactly right. We have a 4-man quarterback battle, which is pretty unprecedented. The last time the Browns have really had an open quarterback competition, you got to go back before Baker Mayfield. It was like Deshaun Kaiser, Brock Osweiler, and Cody Kessler and company. This is really the first time outside of Baker Mayfield and then Deshaun Watson, the trade, that we've really had an open competition. And it's not crazy to think that they could roll in with 4 quarterbacks. You're obviously allowed. Right. And the Browns right now, if they don't trade one of them before the preseason starts, and it's a real possibility, then we're going to be looking at a true 4-way quarterback competition battle. At least it appears that way.
We're going to be going into much further detail with our Cleveland Browns, as we have now started camp starting next week. We'll dive into it even more so as we get closer and closer to the start of the regular season. Boy, the summer is going so fast and time is flying. That is for sure. Jimmy Hanlon will be coming up a couple of segments from now as we continue bonus time with Drennan here on the Big Play Sports Network.
The Big Play Sports Network is brought to you by Smart Choice Windows, energy-efficient products at an affordable price. Visit smartchoicewindows.com today.
Shifting our gears to golf, got Jimmy Hanlon coming up to recap that historic British Open. But I want to acknowledge playing in the 4th annual Greater Cleveland Sports Hall of Fame outing at Kirtland Country Club this past Monday. Great event every year. Had a chance to talk to Paul Dolan, the owner of the Cleveland Guardians. Had lunch with Grover and Lenny Barker. Of course, Bob DiBiasio and John Telich, former great sportscaster from Channel 8, run the show. They do a super job. Other former Indians, Joe Smith, of course, relief pitcher, had a fine major league career, married to Allie LaForce, of course, and John, and also Kevin Romberg, may remember Kevin. Cavs, Campy Russell was there, Tim Alcorn, Kevin Mack from the Browns, Felix Wright, former Brown, Jimmy Hanlon, who's coming up on our show here next, and Rob Moss, the head pro at Pepper Pike, a multiple winner of the Ohio Open. Also Chuck Kyle of our own Object of the Game show here on Big Play. So I want to acknowledge what a great time that was, the Greater Cleveland Sports Hall of Fame. I run a traveling league on Tuesdays, and I want to shout out to the wonderful people at Legends of Massillon. Played there for the first time yesterday. Greg Grimsley, Louise Myers couldn't have been more gracious and warm and welcoming our group. We had 5 foursomes, and it was fabulous. They have a very unique PGA director of golf, Carrie Lowry. She's a fantastic player and golf teacher, so I strongly recommend Legends of Massillon. They have 27 holes, kind of a links atmosphere out there. Really enjoyed it. Can hardly wait to go back. Speaking of links, we're going to recap the British. Jimmy Hanlon, next. Bonus time. Big Play. I love you, Menor Nissan. Hi, Bruce Drennan here from my good friends at Menor Nissan. Ray Sminchak, the whole staff. As you know, I've been doing a lot of our shows down in Florida. Just returned. Great to be back on the home confines of our beautiful studios here at Burke Lakefront Airport for Big Play. But I got to tell you, I drove my Nissan Rogue from Menor Nissan down to Florida, had the rack up on top with extra luggage. It was absolutely the most splendid, beautiful ride. Just as smooth as could be. My wife also drives a Rogue. We rotated driving down there and back, but I just can't recommend it any more so to you. Get on out there, test drive a Rogue or a Murano or any of the other great products that they have out there at Menor Nissan. Don't forget, they're now in partnership with Infinity of Akron and Infinity of Beechwood. Check those great vehicles out as well. Service department is absolutely fantastic. Went back to the dealership to get maintenance after that long drive down there and back. And give them a call. Set up an appointment. Of course, check out their website at menornissan.com. That's menornissan.com. I love you, Menor Nissan. Well, we've completed the 4th and final major of the 2025 golfing season, and as I mentioned earlier, Jimmy Hanlon is joining us from our Big Play Network. I also saw Jimmy the other day at the Greater Cleveland Sports Hall of Fame golf outing at Kirtland Country Club. What a track that is.
Oh, yeah, it's beautiful. Back 9 at Kirtland is the best in Northeast Ohio.
Oh, it's fantastic. Absolutely love it. Let me throw this at you to start. I'm 75 years old. I've had the privilege of seeing the entire career of Jack Nicklaus.
First of all, you don't look that old, by the way. You look great.
Yeah. And I've shot a couple of 75s this year, too.
I figured.
From the senior tees. I've seen his entire career and obviously seen Wood's entire career. I think Scheffler is a better iron player and approach with his irons than either one of them.
Yeah, Bruce, he controls his distances better than any player that I've ever played. You'll see him hit a shot, Bruce, and he'll be a little frustrated with it, and it means he pulled it like 10 yards, right? But it's never the wrong distance. You're right. His distance control is maybe as good as I've ever seen. I would agree with you.
You're one of the best analysts when it comes to analyzing a swing. What do you make of his twisted body swing with those feet?
Yeah, he does dance around a lot. You're right. I mean, I think for him, it's very repeatable. I think he does hit a lot of balls, with his balance and how he slides that right foot out of there kind of a thing. But that's just a way that he uses the ground up, right? He really comes out of the ground. He's never hitting the ball from the top. He's always, coming up from the ground up, and which means you rarely see him hit a shot fat or heavy. He never hits behind it. He's always hitting it solid. The thing that interests me, Bruce, because I'm glad you brought this up. This is a great thing. What I like about him is, I feel like players, they abandon the driver, right? So they decide, well, I'm not going to hit driver. I want to hit a club that I hit straighter. Well, listen, these driver heads are this big. They're the easiest thing to hit. Then you go down to a 3-wood and it's this big, right? Then you go down to a hybrid and it's this big. So you watch him, he just chokes down on the driver, or he'll tee it down a little, or he'll hit a big cut. You see him hit that big cut out there when he's getting in play. But, man, you see him hit driver a lot because he feels comfortable with that club in his hand. He might do something different. He might hit it low, might hit it high, he might hit it cut it, but he hits a lot of drivers. And I love that. I've always been that way myself. Not a lot of tour players, you don't see that. I love that he hits the driver all the time. Like
Nicklaus and like Woods, when he does make a mistake like he did on Sunday, he comes right back with a birdie.
Yeah, that's exactly what he does, Bruce. And that's where I think his demeanor, and I think that's if anybody has a knock on Scottie Scheffler, right, it's that he doesn't have this big personality, right?
Especially when DeChambeau has come out of his shell now.
Yeah, that's right.
And reversed. At first, he had a bad reputation, but now he's the crowd. Some people think it's phony and he's did too much, but please continue.
Yeah, you're exactly right. But so I think he's a little bit, I always call him like Gomer Pyle, Shoddy Scott. He's like, hum-de-dum-de-dum-de-dum, how you doing? That's how he acts, right? So I think that demeanor does very well to him, where if he makes a mistake, he's just like, hum-de-dum-de-dum, I'll just go make birdie on the next hole. He doesn't get too high, but he also, or doesn't get too low, but he also doesn't get too high. He stays like this. And I'm interested to see, Bruce, his comments over the British Open was a lot about how golf isn't the number one thing in his life. And this isn't, and so
his wife and baby there at the end, his parents.
Yeah, he's really into being, which is great, right? But again, I think that's a defense mechanism for him at times. I think for him, he just uses that to not allow the pressure to get to him too much.
I'm glad you brought that up because you anticipated my next question to you. He's 29 years old, Jimmy.
Yeah.
This is his fourth major. Now, Nicklaus won an incredible 18, thought he'd be overtaken by Tiger. And had to be thinking, while he was watching Tiger in his prime, oh, goodness, of those 19 times I finished second in majors, why couldn't I have won 5 or 6 of them? As it turned out, the 18 was safe. Tiger won 15. In order for Scheffler to reach 15 at 29 years old, he'd almost have to average 2 per year, right? I mean, and that's asking a lot, especially with what you have just commented about his priorities.
Yeah, and I think, too, Bruce, it's really, I mean, we watched it. We watched it with Jack. We watched it with Tiger. You got to stay healthy, right? Because there's times where, Jack, bad back, struggled a little bit, and just wasn't healthy. Jack really didn't play, he won that Masters when he was 46, but he hadn't won in a long time prior to that.
Right.
He didn't play great golf really late into his career. I mean, Jack was a guy that hit the senior tour and I think probably could have just dominated it for 10 years, and it just wasn't his thing, right? I mean, he played, but it was where I think Scottie, it'll be interesting to see, is he peaking now? Or is there more to come? Is he just going to get better? Because guys like Freddie and Phil Mickelson, they got better in their 30s, right? So is he going to get better? Is that how scary it could be? Or is he's peaked, he's going to run into some health issues. They all do. It's unavoidable. And you're right. Is he going to try to, is he going to be at 12 majors at 43 years old and need 2 more,
Yeah, I think it's so insane for critics of the sport that have said these guys aren't athletes. You can't appreciate walking a golf course, how difficult that is, let alone the mental and the emotional strain on these guys in major championships like this and the execution of the swing and the shots, let alone the putting and what that does to your brain. I was not disappointed in the course or the scores at all, as I mentioned to you the other day at Kirtland when we saw each other, because the weather conditions were so perfect on Saturday and Sunday. Had they not been, those scores wouldn't have been as low as they were, number one. Number two, it was typical British Open except for Scheffler.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, like you said, and it's funny because I thought of you because I'm like, oh, man, Scottie Scheffler's going to shoot 17 under. Bruce is going to hate this, and we're going to have to talk about it. Was the golf course didn't play hard enough. But you explained it to me on Monday, and you're exactly right. Typically, 8, 9, 10 under wins the British. It's not an even par one like the Open. And you're right. The rest of the field outside of Scottie was right where you expected him to be, and that's a true statement. So outside of one guy, it was about where it normally is, and I would agree with you.
And you said you played that course.
I have. I played that golf course. I've been to Ireland a couple times, and we played Royal County Down and Royal Portrush, which are right across the street from each other. Royal County Down's a little more of a stuffier private club, at least back then when it was when I played it. But great. I mean, it's just beautiful. It's two of my favorite golf courses I ever played in my life.
Wow.
For sure. And, it's hard. The stands make it look a little different. I was trying to remember the holes as we went through because I only played it one time. But it was an awesome
different type of British Open course in that the most of them, they bounce into those pot bunkers that the players can't see from the tee. But there was rough stopping the ball before they'd go into the bunkers. But if they did go in, they were penalized.
Yeah. They had like a second cut there, a step there that did try to stop it a little bit. I would agree. And again, Bruce, I think you're right. They go into that looking for the worst, meaning weather. So they're like, okay, if this is really bad, we can't make this unplayable, right? We don't want guys shooting 88, right? So they would never expect in Ireland to get 4 days of sun and very little rain. I mean, they had a little bit, I think, Friday or whatever, but to get the weather they got was just amazing. I mean, we had worse weather in Cleveland in June than they had there.
That's so true, Jimmy.
Yeah.
And I, people that said that it was boring, I found it historically interesting because of Scheffler's a great accomplishment. Now he's got to win the U.S. Open, but we'll see how he fares from here on out now that he has 4 majors at the age of 29. I thought what DeChambeau did was unbelievable. He shot 78 the first day and wound up 9 under par. What a turnaround.
Yeah, so to me, again, DeChambeau's a young player, right? He's still figuring out his stuff. That's got to be scary to me. All I heard all week, Bruce, was DeChambeau doesn't play good in the British. He's not going to play well there. Don't pick him in our pools. Don't do that. He's not it's not his style of golf. To me, what you just said tells me he's starting to figure it out.
Yeah.
Right? Lowest 54-hole total in British Open history. So no one's played 54 holes more under par than Bryson DeChambeau did.
Unbelievable.
From Friday to Sunday, right?
Yeah.
Thursday was 6 over, 7 over maybe. It was, so, that really obviously took away from the chance to win.
Yeah.
But he shoots 70, Bruce, which is which would have been by far his worst round. He's walking away with that clear jug. We're talking about him right now.
Yeah.
1 round of golf.
Yeah.
But again, it didn't happen on Sunday. It happened on Thursday. So to me, that tells me he's going to be at the top of my list next year because he's starting to figure out how to play over there.
Yeah, and he came so close last year winning the PGA. I think that motivated him to win the U.S. Open, which was next on the calendar as far as the majors. How about this gutter up from New Jersey? And Lee, I didn't even know they played golf in China.
Yeah. Yeah, well, Gutter Up, he won the Scottish the week before. So,
right.
To me, probably tells me that he's is one of those guys that plays that style of golf pretty well. British. If he's going over there and winning the Scottish and contending in the British, he must be a links golfer. Must understand the game pretty well, which is kind of crazy. Like you said, he's not from over there, right? But he plays pretty well there. And from a standpoint of just all the other guys, Lee and everybody else that was playing, there was a leaderboard at one point on there, and I'm like, whoa, man, like I cover golf and I don't even know half the guys on here, right? I mean, I wouldn't have known Gutter Up if he didn't win the week before,
right?
Kind of a thing. But the kid from China, it's funny. He's 29 years old, Bruce.
Right.
It's his 14th year as a professional. He started at 15 years old as a professional. He's like a seasoned veteran.
I was totally unaware of him.
Yeah.
I didn't even know they had golf courses over there
Yeah.
or anything. But and he bantered with Scheffler during the round when
Yeah.
they had delays. They had to wait for the group in front of him. That was kind of cool too. Before I let you go, we have to talk about McIlroy. He obviously had the entire gallery behind him. That's his backyard. He grew up there. It had to be. He admitted he was having a ball. He was having a great time, but he had to be disappointed that he couldn't get over the hump to please all those hometown fans.
Yeah. You know, Rory McIlroy, even though he's from Ireland and played a lot of golf at that golf course and stuff, he's an American-style player, Bruce. He hits the ball high, stops it on green softly, doesn't play it low. It's just not his style of golf, even though, again, it should be. It's how he grew up playing. He plays, hit it as far as you can, kill that driver down there, wedge it out, and that really doesn't work in the Open Championship. And, obviously that's why it's eluded him to this point. But, they've played two golf courses or two Opens on the golf course that he grew up playing in his life, and he really hasn't contended in either one of them, which is surprising to me. Roy's got the offseason, Bruce, to figure out his personal life, right? He's building a house in London. Obviously, his wife wanted to live back where they, in Europe. So he's building a house over there. He's getting away from the United States. Obviously, he seems to be having a lot of, issues with the media. He's not talking much anymore after rounds and stuff. So I think he's trying to become a little more private, live his life that way. And we'll see if that helps or that hurts in 2020.
I'll tell you another guy that Scheffler might be concerned with. I don't think he's concerned about anybody. I shouldn't phrase it that way. But another guy that could challenge him next year is Schauffele.
Yeah. Yeah.
He was hurt earlier this year, Jimmy.
Yeah. And, won 2 majors last year. The putter got away from him a little bit. It didn't seem like he putted awful, just nothing went in, right? So the putter got away from him a little bit. So, I think he's always going to be a problem, right? He's always going to be a guy scrappy, always going to be a guy gets around. Him and Colin Morikawa. I kind of I put those two on the
make
same.
the cut?
Yeah, I put those two on the same level.
Nor did
right?
Koepka.
Smaller players, I know I had Koepka, unfortunately, in my pools, but I just thought I just like Koepka's just grit, grind, and I don't care about anybody else. See, you know what Koepka's like to me? He's the Kobe Bryant of golf, right? Yeah. He doesn't want to like you.
Do you think the live thing, though, is with only 3 days of tournament, gets them out of the routine of the rigors of a 4-day major?
I don't, actually. But you know what I think it is doing? There's certain individuals that it's saying, I've got my money and I'm not going to practice and work as hard as I do. I think Cam Smith is one of them for sure. When Cam Smith went to Live Tour, Bruce, he was the #1 player in tour. DJ, that happened to DJ. Now, all of a sudden, though, if you listen to him talk, he's starting to play a little better, starting to find a little bit. So maybe he did his relaxing, bought his boat, hung out for a couple years, and now he's like, all right, I'm going to go back. I need to play better golf. I see better golf on the horizon for DJ. I don't for Cam Smith, and I kind of don't for Brooks Koepka. I think they're just, hey, let's go hang out on our yachts.
Check out all the great shows here on the Big Play Network. Jimmy Hanlon and his crews here on Big Play. We will conclude with the Ask Bruce segment next. Bonus time with Drennan on the Big Play Network.
The Big Play Sports Network is brought to you by Garage Beer. No bitterness, no frills, no IPA, just beer-flavored beer. Find local retailers who sell garage beer near you by visiting drinkgaragebeer.com.
Welcome back. Ask Bruce segment is upon us, but before we dive into your questions, Ryan, Jimmy Hanlon, how many shows has he got on our network now?
We got 18 holes. You got Swing Clinic. What's the other one I'm thinking of? We got with Joe Meglin, Teed Off. And what's the other one with Jimmy? Pin Shot. So, all the shows you can find in the Big Play app, and Jimmy is just a golf junkie. Absolutely fantastic to have him back on the program and just hearing him talk about Scottie, the dominance, and all the other golfers. Analyzing the Scottie swing was tremendous. Jimmy, just an absolute golf junkie.
All right, ask Bruce. Fire away.
Alrighty. Hey, Bruce, assuming the Guardians miss out on the playoffs but finish above 500, would you consider it more of a disappointment coming off an ALCS appearance, or would you view it more as a success considering their 10-game losing streak?
Well, I think it says a lot that they haven't given up on the season considering the 10-game losing streak, and now they're back at the 500 mark as we're recording the show. I think it says a lot, and the schedule is easier, even though, as I pointed out, there's no easy games in the major leagues. Major league players are major major league players for a reason, and the worst major league team cannot. Hey, I've always said the best teams in the major leagues at the end of the season lose 50 or 60 some games, and a lot of them at home. The worst teams in the major leagues win 50 or 60 games, and they win a lot on the road. So, I mean, there's a lot of baseball still to be played. But, no, I think coming back is to be – I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. I said so earlier in the show, but I think it's commendable. I'm really looking forward to next year. I think they can come back next year and win the division, as I said.
Alrighty, hey, Bruce, what are your thoughts on Angel Martinez potentially being the everyday center fielder?
Well, I like him a lot. I see a lot of potential there. I understand, as I mentioned earlier, about the clock ticking. They want to hold on to these young kids as long as possible, so we're likely not to see any of them until September rolls along, but because then they can bring them up without no penalty on the time lapse in the majors. But with DeLauder, with Kifus, with Brito, with him, with Manzardo developing even further, and you're building around Kwan and Ramirez, both untouchables in my mind. You've already got an excellent bullpen. If you have a healthy Bieber to go with these other starters, as I said, I'm looking forward to 26.
Hey, Bruce, does Gabriel Arias have a spot in this lineup when he returns to full health?
I don't know. It's still, I don't think you automatically insert him because it's Vogt and the front office have got to analyze everybody, all these young kids. It's like an audition for a Broadway play. And this is an opportunity. They should look upon it as an opportunity to prove themselves worthy of being an everyday player in the major leagues.
All right, let's put on our optimism glasses, Bruce, for this one. Hey, Bruce, if the Guardians do make a playoff run, who would you name as the Game 1 starter?
Oh, I think you can't go wrong with either Williams or Bibee. Williams is finding his groove now, and I like him a lot for the future. And Bibee, who got off to a rough start this season, he's getting better and better. There's no substitute for major league experience, and there certainly isn't any substitute for playoff experience.
Alrighty, last one for you. Wow, must be getting to football season. First college football question this season. Hey, Bruce, after the Big Ten's dominance last year, how close are they to being named the best conference in college football, or are they already there?
What did Lee Corso say? Not so fast, not so fast. Let's see what evolves this year. First of all, I think that's a misnomer to say University of Washington's going to travel to New Jersey to play Rutgers. Rutgers is going to travel to Southern California to play the Trojans in volleyball or whatever sport you're talking about. Come on. Super conference era. Here we are. Hope you enjoyed the show. That's all the time we've got for this week's version of Bonus Time with Drennan here on the Big Play Sports Network. I'm Bruce Drennan on behalf of Ryan Smith. You have a great week, and we'll see you next week. Until then, as always, and most importantly, you remember, I love you, Ohio. And I love you, Cleveland.